Just want to do a farm tour. It's a nice day. I have a little bit of time. We've had some company. We've been very busy with spring. June, it's early June, first week of June 2021. And this is what the farm looks like. One of our potato beds. Potatoes growing. These are superior potatoes. And in here, I think we have some Norland Reds. From the bottom, I'm gonna take you all the way up to the top. We're gonna go through everything today. First of all, this is actually not our effort. It is our grass, it is our farm. But these giant hay bales, this guy was just rolled up about a half hour ago. One of our neighbors has always hayed this yard, and it's useful for us. So we get our grass cut, and then they get the nutrients. But of course, that's nutrients being taken off the farm. And if you look, even though they fertilize and they do everything with the soil here, if you look at the soil here after years of agriculture versus permaculture, that's dirt. It's not, it's soil, but it's not. You have to dig down a little, get a little moisture here. But anyway, it's a convenience right now to have him, to have them hay. We're gonna take over this field and plant a food forest, as we described in a previous video. And I'll do a video on the food forest, but already we've had our original plans, the best laid plans of Mike and Jen, are already altered. 7 of the 20 trees, I don't think they're gonna make it. This is one of our newest gardens in here. This is high bush cranberry. We came out here last month and mulched, and it looks like they're doing pretty well so far. So the mulch is holding up. A lot of ferns down in this area. Could do fiddlehead ferns. This is a stand of willow. I actually had to cut some of the willow out here and harvest it. It's right over here. We're gonna make some maybe wattle fences with that. That's probably the mother tree. The next part of our orchard is these existing Vermont apple trees. They're old Cal apple trees. See, we went around and inspected all the fruit set on the farm. Took the time to walk all around and check everything, because we had a lot of flowers this year. Last year was a bad fruit year. It was warm early because of climate change. And so then the fruit got out early, but then we had a natural frost that would, you expect in April. And just killed all the fruit sets, so we got no fruit. But this year, we've been checking. There's a lot of fruit. Now this is a mature apple tree, an old apple tree that's been down here for probably 50 years or more. But if we check our new fruit trees, which we will, we'll do a fruit set check, they also have, they've been budding out. So we planted our main orchard, which is down that way, about 6 years ago, and it's finally looked like we might actually get some crop of fruit. Kind of made this grove in here. It's already grown up with ferns. Here we could harvest cider apples. This is an old tree, perfect for cider apples. And this produces a lot usually, except for last year. We haven't pruned it yet. We haven't got in here to do anything to it. So this is just overgrown. This guy doesn't really have any fruit. Didn't flower too much. Just don't really see any fruit sets. We were growing sunflowers here on the septic mound to feed the chickens. It's really far to come down here and mow, so it's a lot of work. Here's our first walnut tree. We have 3. It's down here. This is the same level as the high bush cranberry and the apples we were talking about. This walnut tree, we had a chill, 35 Fahrenheit. So it suffered some of these leaves. And then we have a 3rd walnut tree. And it also suffered a little damage. We'll head up to the orchard. Here's an apple. I don't know if this guy had a lot of fruit on it, maybe not. This is an elderberry who has had some problems, some issues. Looks like it suffered a little bit of damage here, maybe from the frost, but for the most part it's pretty good. It wasn't really a frost, I think it got 34, 35. Here we have our hazelburt tree, and it looks like some of the flowers took and some of these are budding. I can see little hazelburts coming here. This guy's got a bunch of them on there. And this guy has seeds. I think they might be from last year or this year, I'm not sure. These terrible metal fences have protected these for many years, and but it's time to go. They're very toxic. They're ugly, and it's time to go. The trees are big enough, and we freed the trees in the upper orchard for the most part. But the problem is the grass has grown into the bottom of them. Once it's done, the orchard will be beautiful. The trees are big enough, and when they flower, it's really amazing. This is a pear. And I don't see a lot. So I don't know if we'll get anything from the pear this year, but we'll see. There's another pear here. This behind me is one of our cherry trees. And it wants to work on the farm this year, that's for sure. Look at this. Oh yeah. This guy has thorns and he's a sea berry. She's a sea berry. There's males and females. I believe that's a male there, and that's a male, and these are females. The wind usually blows from the south. That's a prevailing wind. So the idea with sea berries is you want to put the males in the front of the wind and have the females downwind so that the spores will so that the pollen will pollinate. I believe it's pollen, I'm not even sure. But there's males and females. You put the men in the front, and then they inseminate back to the ladies. They produced it for the first time last year, a couple of sea berries, and we got to taste them, and oh my god, it's amazing. And it's growing really well here, so that's a very good sign. And we could add this will be our citrus flavor. We could add that flavoring to anything. We could make sea berry drinks, and then really add it as a flavor to whatever, give it some pop. Here's our most magnificent cherry tree, taller than me now, and popping cherries. Look at that. We've got fruit set. We have lots of fruit set. So this is the most. This is hundreds of cherries on this tree, which would be definitely the most we've ever gotten. Female sea berry, ma'am. And here is a plum tree. And I'm not sure that looks healthy. It's looking good. It's taller than me again. This guy's taller than me. This plum not doing so well, but it's doing all right. It's doing all right. But it's also kind of in the worst spot. Like south's this way. And this hill, I don't know if you can tell, slopes down. So it's a north-facing hill, really. So I think if we were to swale this a little better, it would probably capture a little more moisture, and it might do better. This guy got reworked recently. We mulched her about a month ago. Plum tree. I don't see any real fruit on this guy. Not sure if we're going to get any this year. Here's one of our apple trees, and if you check it out, you remember the other apple I showed you, the wild Vermont apple. This guy is got fruit set. Look at that. here, here. Almost everywhere you look. We could get 100 apples off that tree. That's a significant crop. That'd be the most significant we've gotten. For a 6-year-old tree, it's not that bad. This is an old chicken coop. We're gonna probably use it for tools or just storage. This tree here is a little sentimental value. This is like when we first got the land, this is where we ate lunch. And we sat here and dreamed about things. And I got my my first cheesesteak from Scampi here. So that's a real emotional thing. They make like I'm from Philly, and Philly's famous for the cheesesteaks. So I ordered a cheesesteak here, or God forbid I say cheesesteak. I'm sorry, steak and cheese. I ordered a steak and cheese from here, and it was just the best. It was very generous, very big, delicious. Not sure what kind of beef they use. It's just tasty. I'm gonna keep this tree because it has the kind of branches we had originally, but this part makes really good firewood, and it's kind of blocking the tree. Plus I'm rescuing this apple tree. This apple tree was all buried in here. There was a bunch of other stuff. So the light, the tree light, the light was blocked out. That's south. So it's gonna get sun in the afternoon. Like I said, it did flower. This tree flowered probably for the first time in a long, long time. But I didn't see any real fruit set, which is fine. I think it just needs to recover the first year. It's like a crab apple tree, but we could graft onto it. It's got really good rootstock. This has kind of been a dump. The power company was dumping stuff here, so we kind of picked up that habit. This is going to be a black locust grove. So this is Robinia pseudoacacia, black locust. Beautiful flowers, so it's great pollinator, for pollinators. Good insect attractor. But mainly, it's a fast-growing tree. Black locust, they grow up here. Have a little trouble here in Zone 4. I didn't think these two were going to make it, and then they kind of surprised me a few weeks later. This is what a black locust will do for you. It'll give you tool handles in 2 years, give you fence posts in 3 years, and firewood in 5 years. So if you were to pollard this, you know, which is cutting it about this high, it's like above animal grazing height, sheep, goats, then you can pretty much it'll create a bunch of individual streamers that go up, and they're pretty uniform. So you can actually kind of make the plant produce uniform wood very fast. You know, if you go and buy pressure treated wood, that'll last maybe 30 years, and maybe that's good enough. But black locust can last up to 100 years in the ground. They still finding fence posts from way back that are fine. So another thing with black locust, it has like the highest BTUs per the density of the wood. Here we're just wild. This is just growing wild. But you notice there's a lot of pine trees at the same age. So it's almost a pine tree nursery. So we could make a shelter belt out of these pine trees and replant them. Another plant that's growing in here is birch trees. Birch. It's birch. No, this is a birch. Birch. So I'm thinking just leave them here. Birch trees are beautiful. They have the white bark. And so they would line the driveway. One of the most exciting additions this year is the vineyard. Excited, we have 29 vines planted now. Let me just go through the wine varieties. So we have 4 lines. This first one is Adelmina. It's a pretty hardy white. So we have 6 of those. Comes from Australia, I believe. Penny. Could you throw up a description of Adelmina? Wow, look at that. All 6 plants are flowering. In fact, all 29 vines that I planted are flowering, and I put a lot of work into it. Good amendments, dug out the hole, gave them a lot of extra room for the roots to grow. The next one is Itasca. This is also a white wine. It's another University of Minnesota, like the previous one, Alameda. Actually, Penny, could you please put up a description of Itasca? So now these last two are red varieties. This one is Marquette. Marquette, I think -30 again, Penny. Okay. So yeah, that's Marquette. It's got some cobwebs on it. But that's leafing out nicely. This is like a Michael Phillips technique where you do a 4-inch deep bed of stone around any fruit trees or vines or fruit plants. And that makes it a lot easier to weed, and it also, I'm not sure, this is cedar mulch. It's all that we could get. It's all that we could find up here. We couldn't get any real hardwood mulch. So there's some that say cedar would hurt, the acid would hurt the edge. So this also keeps the mulch off the plant. Marquette. Last variety is Frontenac. Like the fortress in Quebec, Frontenac is very hardy. I think, Penny, correct me if I'm wrong, -40 Fahrenheit or Celsius. This guy looks all right. It has multiple places where it's leafing. So that's 29 vines. And I think a low estimate per vines or bottles per vine is about 150 bottles of wine. That should serve us fine. It's a homestead level. Okay, so that's the vineyard. It's a work in progress. We have 4 annual boxes here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Starting at the top, here we have all garlic. It's a hard neck and a soft neck garlic. One side soft neck, the other's hard neck. I think this is the hard neck here.
We have black pole beans along the fence that will trellis up, and then there's buckwheat. Across the way, I just planted some fennel we had started from seed and some shallots.
Ah, the shallots over here.
And then there's also shallots here that we had planted by bulb in the fall. So they should divide into like at least 10. I have a couple Armenian cucumbers that will also trellis up. On the other side of the bed, I have 2 different kinds of beets, a golden beet and a red beet.
Carrots.
3 different varieties of carrots.
Okay, and then yesterday I planted the tomato. So we have mainly San Marzano and then a couple of Rutgers. And then these are various different kinds of experimental tomatoes, like cherry tomatoes, I think some orange tomato. So I also put sweet peppers as well. We do have a good amount of basil. We're gonna plant a lot more basil, and that grows pretty quick. So I'm gonna gild that in here. Basil and tomatoes, they go really well together. And finally, in the 4th one, we have some chive planted, but mainly it's potatoes. This is our other potato bed. The other one is over here. So in here we have some Adirondack blue, but I believe mostly this is fingerling potatoes. But I'll tell you what, the best potato that we've had on the farm, Superior. It keeps a long time and it's delicious. Here we have a lot of berries. I'll just go through this quickly. We have raspberries. Here we have blueberries. And they're only a few years old, a couple of years to 1 year to 3 years old in this area, but it's maturing. Looks like we're gonna get some raspberries. A lot of flowers here, so this is where we're getting some fruit from this year. And this apple tree, this pretty apple tree, I believe it's got some good fruit set on it as well. Look at that. Oh yeah. There, look at that. this is the stuff that we have to plant. This is the nursery, and this is just outside of the nursery. Again, south is there, so this is good. This is our prime garden here, prime kitchen garden, right up the house, zone 1. Here's more of the black locusts, the other 5 that survived the winter. And this is for the food forest. Here we have seaberry that's been propagated and blueberry. A bunch of celery that we're going to plant. These are tomatoes that were just brought up by our family the other day. So Jersey tomatoes, so they're growing like crazy here. And then this is Vermont tomatoes. As far as the size difference, just by the weather. This is our asparagus garden, but it's also strawberries. Asparagus and strawberries. And also interspersing tomatoes in here. We have 20 plus plants of tomatoes in here. The siding of the nursery. That's metal, it's reflective. So when there's full sun, which is overcast right now, you really feel it. There's like an oven effect. You feel the sun coming off this way and the sun streaming in this way. So you get this double effect. I think the plants do really well here. It creates a microclimate that's warmer. They really do appreciate the extra warmth. We've got strawberries on the way, more to be pollinated, and plenty of asparagus. We're letting it seed. This is only the 2nd year for the asparagus, but we actually did harvest a number of the stalks, as you can see. We're pretty sick of asparagus at this point. We had so much, but it's nice. It was a first crop coming out in the spring. Yeah, there's a good asparagus there. This is a new garden that we just made a month ago. So we, more cedar logs, and then we treated all this. Squash, zucchini, I believe, and then a bunch of lettuces. Another small orchard in here. I won't go into all the details because it's kind of overgrown and needs to be managed, but it's more fruit trees. Here's our chickens. These are farmers. Hey, girls. Oh, it's Genevieve. Hi, Genevieve. Here's our fruit forest, fruit trees. Here's the 7, the 7 that aren't making it. A lot of pears, but these apples are. So yeah, the fruit forest trees, the rootstock at least is leafing out. We got that about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. We haven't tested it yet. The brood box is filling up. We did a nuke of 5 frames, and there's 10 frames in there. And we haven't inspected it yet, but I will be soon. But you can see all the activity in there. And I'll put a camera up closer later, but I can see, and you probably can't, I could see them flying. It's all arrivals and departures. It's an airport. And the arrivals are coming in with visible pollen on their legs. Their legs are just packed in pollen. I wish you could see that. And then one last thing to show you. I didn't cover everything, but it's already a really long video for me. Peach tree. Well protected from the chickens who were digging it out. We have a lot of hardware here. This is the chicken coop behind me. Okay, this peach tree, hey, look at that fruit set. So we might get 20 peaches, 25 peaches, maybe more, 30, 40. It's gonna miss some morning sun. But as we head toward the solstice, the sun's coming up about there now. So it's getting sun about 8 in the morning. And then all day until probably 5 or 6. The house isn't finished on the ends. I'm going to try to finish that this season. The lumber's super expensive right now, so we're still holding out on the project. Anyway, from Pensioner Pond Farm and all the farmers here, the 1,000 bees, dozen chickens, 2 humans, and a dog. We'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.